Good afternoon.
Sir, we wanted to hear about how you decided to go into the career of law.
I think what inspired me was the fact that my father was a very successful lawyer and then a very successful judge, firstly as a district judge and then as a high court judge in Gujarat. So I think I was essentially inspired by that. But coupled with that also, I think my love for law was born out of my love for fiction. And I think what really drove me to law ultimately was my college days, especially in my commerce graduation, during which I spent a lot of time reading lots of fiction relating to law, and that really ultimately made me take the final decision into becoming a lawyer.
So apart from your father, were there any memorable figures in the legal world that inspired you?
Well, yes, of course, because since I was a son of a judge, I always lived amidst judges, and one of the judges who really inspired me a lot was Justice Dushyant Dave I, who later became a Supreme Court judge and chairman of the Law Commission of India. And he, like me, was extremely fond of novels and fictions. He used to be our neighbor, and somehow he took a tremendous liking to me. And he was an outstanding judge who, like my father was appointed as a district judge. He was an exclusively criminal side lawyer and who really worked himself up to be a judge who was practically good in every branch of law and gave some great memorable judgments in Gujarat High Court as also in the Supreme Court. So I think that his personality really is something which always was imprinted on my mind when I wanted to be a lawyer.
So tell us about your first case. Do you remember the first time you argued a case on your own?
I think it was sometime in 1979. I had just finished in 78, September, October, and started practicing. And I had initially joined Mr. S.B. Majmudar, who later became an outstanding judge in the Supreme Court, Justice S.B. Majmudar. And it was he who, although I was with him for a very short period, because by the time I joined his chamber, he was offered judgeship in the Gujarat High Court. And I joined him for a short stint. But he was the one who truly encouraged me, in the sense that one day I was just sitting, a few weeks at the bar perhaps, and he just thrust a particular brief in my lap, and he said, "You have to go and argue this before the court in next half an hour, so please read the brief and go and argue it out." And that really gave me the confidence, and that is the beginning of a matter. I still remember it was a matter under the Gujarat Land Revenue Act, and it was an interesting short question. The judge before whom I was to appear was a judge who was a stickler for rules and discipline, and it was a pleasure. It was an eye opener because, but yes, that's how it began in sometime in early '79.
So now that you have juniors of your own, how does, when you compare when you yourself were a junior, do you think times have changed? Do you think the salaries and all have drastically improved? Do you think your
Yeah, of course, because when we were young, the kind of stipend which used to be given to us as juniors was negligible. It was almost a pittance. But those were the standards then, because it was really not thought in those days that juniors should get anything. Because it was considered to be an honor to be a junior and work, as a pupil with somebody. So really remuneration was not, but I needed the money, I must confess, because my father had already left Ahmedabad and was living in Baroda, and I honestly found it very difficult to survive on the kind of amount which I was receiving from my senior. But fortunately, I got the breaks because my seniors allowed me to have private practice, and I used to get small briefs from the very beginning of my career in 79, 80, and then later, I think in just about a year's time, I was appointed to appear for Government of Gujarat as a counsel for some of the government solicitor firms like Ambubai and Devanji. And that really gave me tremendous opportunity to appear for government in hundreds of cases before outstanding judges, and that was the opening. So it really is very different today because things are very different. The cost of living has increased immensely. In big cities like Bombay or Delhi or Calcutta, Madras, it's very difficult for young lawyers to really survive unless they are given at least some reasonable amount so that they can sustain themselves. So I think things have changed undoubtedly, and they've changed for better. Today's lawyers are getting tremendous openings, and even if they go into the private sector or go into the large law firms. But even with counsels like us, I think the kind of remuneration which they are getting is a very decent one from what it used to be.
So one thing is remuneration. Apart from that, do you think the world of the litigating professional, how has it changed in front of you?
It hasn't changed in the sense that the litigation practice remains virtually the same, but the quality of litigation has undoubtedly undergone a remarkable change, a sea change I would say. And today you have all kinds of issues which are cropping up. Besides constitutional issues, you have every kind of a law which is affecting the civil laws or the corporate laws, which where the questions come up before the courts on a day-to-day basis. The stakes have become much larger. Therefore, the kind of importance of cases which has come about is, and of course, the corporate warfare has increased substantially, which is giving the opportunity to and besides that, of course, one of the biggest areas of development of litigation is public law, and particularly the government tenders, because infrastructure development is immense now. It used to be negligible 30 years ago. So, and there are huge disputes in infrastructural projects which are awarded by contract, whether it's for national highway or defense procurement, anything and everything. So the kind of litigation, the quality of litigation has undergone a sea change, and that is giving tremendous opportunity, especially for counsels who are in Delhi, who are in Supreme Court, because we today are offered briefs in litigation across the country. So we get an opportunity to go and argue almost in every high court from time to time, because the issues come up in various high courts for all kinds of matters. So that, to that extent, there is a sea change, and it has really improved the opportunity for young lawyers to become counsels in court.